Hello everyone, my name is Hisham. I'm the owner of Clemson Aeronautics, where we make the riveting and dimpling systems. As a reminder, we have the sale going on. We also make these fantastic yokes. This is the longeron yoke, and this is the 3-inch yoke with a hole, and this is our 4-inch yoke without a hole. It's very unique because of the shape of the nose. It will get you into areas. Let's just say this will be your go-to riveting yoke. You will really enjoy that and appreciate that. A lot of our customers send us messages about this. Now, business at hand. Just for those 1 or 2 guys that's kind of like me, working on this part. Remember this part here from a video or 2 ago. When you do this, you can't help but wonder the piece that goes over here, that will have the screws and will have the servo motor mounted on it. So and it's exciting to get into something electrical in your build. So you look into the manual and you figure out, okay, this is the plate where the that servo motor will be on. So I'm gonna just check it out. So you take your servo motor. First thing you're gonna do, you're gonna put it like this, and these cutouts don't match. So you say, okay, it's gonna be the other way. Oh yeah, because of that 45-degree cutoff right here. So it will be like this, and then you look at it with the skin, and you say, yeah, that sounds about right. And then next thing, you're gonna get your motor out. You're gonna say, okay, so that sits inside this plate right here. So you try to put it on there, and there is no holes that fit. Okay. Not only that, when you put it on there, this part here that's supposed to move forward and backwards to adjust your trim is not lined up with this cutout right here. So you're gonna say, well, how are we gonna put this on and stuff like that? Then curiosity take you, and you start digging out in the manual, and then you get to page 9-24, and you discover that there is these 2 parts that you're gonna have to install, kind of like this, and the motor mounts the other way on top of that, like that. So now we know we have to deal with those parts. Since we are doing dimpling and things like that, we need to know what's going to happen to this parts. So obviously those big holes, that 7 holes, will be dimpled for the number 6 screw. Then those number 40 holes, you say, well, we'll dimple those for a number 40. But that is actually not what the manual is calling for. It's calling for machine countersink. This thing here. Let's look at this thing here with the caliper. This is probably, I'm measuring 35 thousandths with the blue cover on it. So this is probably a 32,000 or so material. So I'm gonna have to countersink those 6 holes right here to match a -3 rivet. Well, I'll tell you what, guys and girls, this is very close. So we're gonna have to be very, very careful when we machine countersinking these holes. And my plan is I'm gonna countersink one at a time and put a rivet in there, make sure it's flush. If it's very, very close to flush, I'm gonna leave it. And because if you go a touch beyond flush, then the rivet is not gonna be strong enough. There's not enough meat biting there. So that is the plan, to dimple the 7 holes that we're gonna have for the number 6 screw and countersink the 6 holes that's gonna hold these brackets that holds the servo motor. So we're gonna start on that next. So I'm starting on these brackets now, and right after I peeled the blue plastic off of it, I can feel immediately that this needs to be deburred. The holes need to be burred. So I'm using my screwdriver, Harbor Freight one, and it does a good job, so I'll continue that. Next thing, I'm gonna just take those 2 to the buffer and buff them up really good, and I'm just gonna use the Scotch-Brite to scuff them, and then we should be done with those because there's nothing else to be done with it. Folks, these 2 parts are left and right, but you can't mix them up. The way they are bolted or riveted to that plate, you can't mix them up, so you don't have to worry about marking them or anything. Number 2, when you're buffing them, make sure you don't get hurt, because they are small and you have to get into tight places, and make sure it doesn't get too hot because the material is thin and you could anneal it. This hole, that big hole here in the middle, from the outside, I used my deburring tool. You have to be very light with it, and because it will chatter and it will leave grooves instead of deburring it. So you do it very, very lightly. That's kind of machinist trick here. From the inside, you can do it with a Scotch-Brite. We'll clean it up just fine. So these are things you have to be careful with those 2 pieces. The next piece is the E1402. First things first, deburr the holes, because if you dimple them before you deburr them, there's the part that you ain't going to be able to get to. So deburr the holes first, then we start dimpling them. Now, I deburred the holes. Then I deburred the part from the outside. Now, I have the option to dimple or countersink first. In my opinion, countersinking first makes more sense, since I'm going to be putting it on a flat surface, so I can go down with the countersink. The dimples, yes, they are going, like here's the plate, so we have it correctly. We're going to go this way. The countersink is going to be from this side, but the dimple is going to be on this side, flush on this side. So when I put it on a plate like this, the dimple will be in the way while I'm trying to countersink. So I think I'm going to countersink first, then dimple the part. I managed to countersink the 6 holes correctly, but while I'm doing that, I was being really careful, and I had set my Countersink tool to be very shallow, and as I'm going down, I'm seeing it taking just a big bite, really. So I thought, okay, let me stop right here and check with the rivet. And I put the rivet in there, and it's perfectly flush. So if I had pushed it down just a little bit more, it would have been deeper than it's supposed to be, especially with this material being so thin. So while you're countersinking, I suggest you be really careful and start really, really, really shallow and come down slowly. You will countersink all the way where the hole is actually bigger. So be careful with that. And now it's time to dimple the number 6 hole, or the number 6 screw hole, and we're going this way. I had my tool set, so let's check it out. Looks pretty good. The piece seems to be nice and flat. So this is it for this piece. We just have to scuff it and prime it. Speaking of primer, folks, if I dig out my AMP manuals for you, I get you the section where we're talking about painting and priming and so forth. The whole point of priming your part is not prepping it so you can paint on it and the paint stick. No, the primer is to keep it from corroding. Having said that, when you're prepping your part, you need to degrease them completely, not just clean them. Now, after you buff it and stuff like that, some of this dust is on there and it's very difficult to get off, so I use rubbing alcohol to clean it and degrease it at the same time. After I do that, I can't touch it with my hand. Somebody say, you know, like the part that is primed, we'll never see it because it's hidden inside the wing or elevator or something like that, so it doesn't have to look good. It's not about looking good. The oils from your hand, as little as it may seem to you that your hand is dry or something like that, when you touch your part and you leave a fingerprint, that's oils, and the primer is not going to stick to that, and it will fall off, and it could corrode. And what I'm trying to get you to do is to build an airplane that the sons of your grandchildren could fly. Folks, you go to the airport next door here, there is Bonanzas from 1948 and 47. And there's many Cubs and stuff like that. I mean, there's airplanes from the 30s and 40s are still flying today. And get in there, you're going to see the primer stuck really well to the airplane, and that's what's keeping it from corroding. If they had done a good job back then, you'll find the aluminum is in good condition. So watch out when you're priming the part. Once you degrease it, first of all, when you are degreasing it and you're using like a lint-free towel or something like that, use gloves, disposable gloves, and then from the gloves to the part that you're going to hang it on, then you spray it and you let it dry. Don't touch it with your hand before you spray. Folks, these are the parts, the small parts that I have prepared and I managed to prime. And I guess you've seen this before, where I just took a 2x4 and put a bunch of nails in it and have some wires, and I would hang the parts from them so they would dry. Sometimes if I wanted to expedite the drying part of it, I put it in front of my jet engine heater. And folks, this is it for this video. Tomorrow we're gonna be concentrating on those parts, trying to rivet the rivet nuts and so forth, and there's work to be done on the trim tab. I have ordered the Pro Seal from Aircraft Spruce today, so it should be here within a few days. Then we're going to start working on the trim tab. There is things to do on the trim tab before the Pro Seal, of course. We're going to be working on those too, hopefully very soon. Just a reminder, our sale for our machine and our yokes is still going on right now, so please do take advantage of that before it's gone. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.